Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, we're gonna start the final push to get this thing on the track. Thank you all so very much for joining me and hanging in there with me and watching all these videos with me. I greatly appreciate every single one of you who's taken the time out of your lives and busy days to give me a subscribe and do all the things that you do for me. I've heard of people sending me to forums and Facebook groups and retweeting stuff, and man, it's really awesome. I can't begin to even thank you all dearly for what you do. If you know anybody who might be interested in what I do with the amateur fabrication, engineering, mechanics, race car stuff, hot rods in the future, but mostly race car stuff, and maybe even street car stuff in the future. Who knows? Everything automotive. Let's just put it that way. Please feel free to send them my way because I'm trying to get some pennies out of Google someday, and we're really close. So, I mean, I don't really have the aspirations of being a professional YouTuber. I have a day job, but if it ever happens, I'll gladly accept it because that would be much better than doing what I do now. So either way, like I said at the opener, we're going to start the push to get this thing on the racetrack. I don't know if we're going to finish that push right now, but we are sure going to start, and there's a lot that needs to be done. So as you can tell, a lot needs to be done. You know, like a body, Nerf bars, other fabrication, body mounts, things of that nature. But there's a lot. There's a rear bumper. I might put a gusset for these shocks. Maybe I'll put that in after testing. Maybe I'll stick a little camera in there, see if I need it. Who knows? We got to get Nerf bars built, which means I probably have to stick tires on the side of the car. That'll at least help me put a body on because then I won't put a body on the sides. I'll put all the requisite tires, spacers, wheels, and put them on and string it down the car, down the side, and see how far out it needs to come. And then we can do that. We have to put a ground strap, like a screw here. That'll take 5 minutes. We have to bridge the gap at the top here across this front hoop section. We got to figure that out. And again, after that, it's basically body time because we don't really have a heck of a lot. Also, we need to do the dashboard. I forgot about that. And I might have to go play around with a little bit of wiring. In the last video, I made this wire a little too short for the ignition. I'll probably go through and make sure that that's cleaned up and able to actually have a little bit of tension taken out of it. I also have a problem with my fan. The way Longacre made these switches is they bridged every single switch off of each other, so you only have to run one power wire. But the problem is that if you run a fan, it's essentially a 12-volt generator. So if you have the fan switch on with the ignition switch on and the fan is running and you slap the ignition switch, the car stays running until the fan shuts off enough to stop generating power through the power system. So I might have to delete on that switch bridge, which I can get to rather easily. And actually, I think that I might have to make a new bridge from the starter to this one, because this is my dash lights, and remove this and put a single power wire simply for the fan so that it doesn't backfeed the system. Other than that, I think the transmission's got to come out. Not too sure on that yet. I got parts coming. I think they want a specific transmission, and I don't want to mess with the rules. And again, we're basically at the point where this thing runs and drives. Last video, you saw it run. It steers. It's got no springs in it. Obviously, we got to figure that out. But the throttle pedal works from the inside. The brakes work. The clutch works. The steering works. I can sit in it. So we got to just start putting things on it. What do you say? Now here's where working on something by yourself starts to become an issue, because I have to put a roof on this car by myself because the only help that's been offered to me works on the days that I have off. So it's like, dang it, you know, it's scheduling stinks, and it just stinks. So I'm probably gonna have to manhandle the roof off of my old car, which has like a blanket and a tarp over it so it won't get damaged out in the elements, which sucks because I only have the one car garage and that's all I have. I can't put it anywhere else. So we're gonna have to wrestle that off that car, probably a few rivets and it'll come right off, and I don't want to scratch my windshield, but I'm gonna have to find a way to get it on this chassis without ruining it. And that's going to take a lot of manpower. So I'm already taking Advil as I speak, just preemptively, so that we can get it on there and hurt ourselves and not notice it. So I'm going to figure something out to do right now, and it's probably going to be fabrication related in the front end of the car so that we can at least just get started. Sometimes you're your own worst enemy. I'm now down another switch because I went to push this backwards and forgot that it was taped in and did not see the taut wires and pulled the back out of the switch. So now I have my third ignition switch in the car. That's just fantastic. But I ran a new power wire, a separate one, from the power block on the solenoid because I don't feel like crawling under the car to get to the main, and this thing does literally the same thing. It's a junction point for the battery cable when it gets turned on. The only thing that's hooked to the master switch is literally the master battery cable that goes to here and my transponder because, well, whenever I turn it on, that's always on. I want the transponder on at all times, no matter what, ignition switch or not. So now it looks like it's completely separated the circuit. So now it's not backfeeding power to the ignition. So now when I flip the switch for the ignition, it only need this switch instead of, maybe 3 more switches when I break those, it should be fine if I shut the ignition off with the fan on. So now we have to move back to the front, get back on this, start figuring out what we're going to do for fabricating a crossbar here so that it strengthens the front end because these things tend to twist a lot. And with the frame saver in it, we put one down at the bottom and one up here so that it maintains the separation between the frame rails if this thing should take a hard shot in the front. That's why I put these in so that maybe it'll actually move and we could repair it easier. It's not to really make it stronger, it's make it easier to repair. So hopefully that'll help. We're going to get some kind of stringer put in. I'm not quite sure where. I might put a tab and bolt a bar through here, but I got to maintain a distance between here and there. It's just going to be kind of a pain. And it's probably going to be really close to these, which I don't want to make more hot spots, but we'll figure it out. It might even be here. Who knows? But I'm going to go grab some stuff and figure it out. So I got an idea while I was off camera. Why don't I just, if I have to put a crossbar in, I've already got tabs here. I've already got a bolt coming through. Why don't I just put it in between these two? It's out of the way of everything. The hose clears. This clears. Why don't we just do that? Man, I hope it's square now. I really hope that works. That worked out so much better than I expected. Because now instead of having one mount, I've got two with this really thick, area here. It's going to be a lot more robust in that one spot. It's already there and it fits, like I said, perfectly. Plus, I can weld a couple little tabs off of here and put some upper radiator mounts on here. Hopefully that'll help keep that from wiggling back and forth or flopping around or whatever. I don't know. But we need something to stop it. That's all we need, and it'll be easy to access. And, it's one central point. It'll help hold the car together a little tighter, and it'll help mount a lot of stuff. So we're going to do that. And, dude, this is coming along quicker than I expected. So once we do that, shoot, we're going to have to start working on the body, I think. Got a little upper mount here. I know it's not the fanciest thing in the world. It's just a little strap of aluminum. It's, it's held in by the hoses anyway, so it's got a lower mount in it. Goodness, I mean, I'm looking at it, it's like, aside from some spray paint duct tape, the front fab is done except for, body mounts and bumpers. So I'm going to start working on the dashboard, because that needs to not only get painted, but it needs to get notched. It needs to have the light hole drilled in it so that we can put that in properly. And then I think, if I'm wrong in saying, we might be able to just kind of start putting that on, which will lead us straight into putting the body on. All right, guys. Apologies for my voice, as I am in a dust mask, because we're in the process of throwing some paint on her. Now, oh, it's terrible smelling. Tell you what, it looks a lot closer with a coat of paint on her. I got the dashboard over here. 2 coats on her, waiting for it to dry so I can put it back in. But I gotta put my mask back on or get out of here, because it stinks. I wish I hadn't done that. I'll see you tomorrow. Next day, and I got some parts in. And now I'm concerned, because now I have to try to put them in, and I'm not sure if they fit very well or not, but I think we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, what I bought was, instead of just trying to make a Driveshaft hoop, I kind of bought one. And I've been trying to finagle it for a little bit. And if it doesn't fit, well, I think I'll just have to finagle it some more, I guess. Because I jacked the car up, and I put that down, the rear end up enough that I don't think it's adjusted properly, obviously. But if I lean on it, it kind of goes to ride height. I'm not sure. So I got the drive shaft at least somewhere in place. The front one, basically the X member in the chassis, I'm just going to put it right over the top of the X and weld it in place so that it doesn't, if like the forward U-joint breaks, it doesn't beat the hell out of the tin work. It'll only beat it up a little bit. It's not infallible, let's be fair. But the rear U-joint, if that fails, I got to have a rear one in it, and that's where this comes into place. And I'm trying to figure out where it goes. Now, again, I might be bending my own strap steel to make this fit, which I have some, but who knows? So I guess I'm just going to have to play with it and figure it out. And it's probably better to do this type of fabrication without the body on it, because, well, I can see everything and get to it easier. So body will have to wait a day or so, or whenever I get this done. So I got a few hours tonight. Let's work on this then. That's in, and that's in. Can't really see the front one because it's parallel, but trust me, It's in there. I'll even show you this way that it's in. So, I made it a little tall in the front because, well, room. I can, use it to put drive shaft in and out. The only concern that I have is that this is a little bit too shallow and that it's going to bottom out under bump. The solution to that is, if it does it while I'm racing, I'll take it off and make a new one that's a little taller. Or maybe I'll just make one now. I'm not sure. I ran out of enough material, I'm pretty sure, to make a new one. So we'll figure that out when the time comes. I did jack this thing up as high as it would go, and I only had like this much spring clearance between the adjuster and the cup. And I figured, you know what, if we're squeezing the spring down this much and it's just about to hit, well, I think we probably jumped over something and landed, and that's where it would come from. But you never know. Like I said, we tried to jack it up to height to make sure it was right. We'll see. Checking my list behind me, and it's starting to go away slowly. There is still fabrication to be done, clearly. There's body mounts to put on, there's bumpers to put on, there's hood pins, all sorts of other stuff. One weird thing is I have to put sway bar mounts in. And they don't come on these cars, apparently, on the frame, because the factory sway bar mount are 2 bolt holes up through the bottom of the frame that you could just bolt the factory sway bar to. But on these, apparently there's nothing. And I was thinking about just getting a couple shoulder nuts, putting the factory sway bar in with solid links on both sides, just so it holds it, nice and square, and I can position it with a jack or whatever. Put the factory bushings and clamshells, or whatever you call them, or C-clamps or whatever, on, marking the holes, and then drilling into the frame and welding shoulder nuts in, and then we can have factory mounted sway bars. Or my second option, which I don't think is going to work because of where the steering lays on these cars, would be to buy a bolt-on kit, but I don't think that's actually going to work. Or I'd have to drill through the frame and put a lollipop mount in. Again, I don't think that would work. So we're gonna have to go with the factory mount, and I don't have the bolts for that or the nuts or that. So I think we're gonna have to focus our attention on cleaning up first, and then might be body time. I think we might have to go over and grab the roof off of the other car. See if we can slide that thing on here. My problem is that there is a factory roof height rule. So what we're going to have to do eventually, or whatever we end up doing, we're going to have to put this thing on the ground on ride height blocks again. And I might have to measure up and either put a flat plane with a level on it to the point on the roof where they want that done, or I'm going to have to stick a tennis ball on a rope to the height. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but the level and measuring up from the floor seems like the best bet, because what I can do is I can take a tape measure and stick it through, I don't know, any hole here, just straight by the bell housing, and stick it down and tape measure up level to the tape measure. Not really sure. Or I could take a longer piece of rod and stick a level to that, and there's a whole process to it. So I don't know, we got to get something done. And that poor thing's still sitting out there with the roof on it. So while I was off camera, I actually had to do something to finish up underneath the dashboard. I had to get the brake bias adjuster put in. I think the rules say they have to be out of your reach, and the only thing I can really reach is that switch and the shifter. I can't really reach much further forward than that if I'm strapped in all the way. Hopefully they'll take that. I had to run it opposite of what I wanted to, but I figured out that the pivot point for where my foot is for the throttle and where the brake master is, I think my heel is back pretty far, and I can actually foot over the adjuster. So fingers crossed that works. Hopefully I don't mess that up too badly. Either way, now I can put the dashboard down, and I'm thinking maybe I'll actually affix it as well, like put a couple rivets in it, and see if it's gonna stay stationary here, because in order for the roof to go on, that has to be on, and all sorts of other stuff. So I'm just kind of trying to pre-plan my actions before we go into this. And I'm just glad that I got that adjuster done. But now we got to start planning the body, unless I missed something else.
Gosh. Ouch. Yeah, it's lighter. Nope.
Oh boy, this thing is really kind of the worst for wear after being outside. That kind of stinks. She's, remember when we polished this? Remember when we did that? Yeah, it's, the moisture got to it and it destroyed all the paint. Dang. Luckily, the windshield's cut pretty flat so that it'll be able to go onto this dashboard pretty easy. All we have to figure out is how high it needs to be and where everything else is going to bolt to it and how much of this we need. Obviously, we're going to figure that out once we put the wheels on it, get the Nerf lined up, spread this out a little bit, however much it needs. Again, a lot of this is all finagling, and it's really, really difficult without a fixture, which, yeah, I ain't got one. Probably could have one, but I don't have one. Again, this thing's got to go kind of on the ground so that we can set the height, and once we know the roof height, we can literally start putting everything in. Like, I'm going to grab all my half-inch tubing that I bought just for this occasion, and I'm going to build like at least this cross brace here first. It's just going to be up across the bottom of this, back down to hold this up. And that's all I ever really needed. This will get at least affixed to the roof somehow, maybe a upright to it, you know, weld to that. I'm not sure how high up it's got to be off the cage, but it's going to need to be repainted because I just wiped all that off, and then we have to redo, you know, this little bit of tin work here and all the back tin work as well. But again, that's all going to get braced as well. There's probably going to be another brace coming off of here for the middle tin work, and then the back tin work to meet up, and we'll figure it out. It's all going to be a gigantic process to get this in, and it's really kind of a pain. I was just searching the rules, and I have to put it at, I think it's 8 inches back on the roof. So about, yay back. It's got to be a minimum of 51 inches. So that's got to be what, at ride height, whatever it is, it has to be no less than 51. So what I'll do is I'll probably stuff the car on the ground on 6-inch blocks because I think that's the minimum. And take a level or a piece of metal with a level attached to it, mark of tape at about 8 inches back, take the tape measure from the floor up through the middle where the firewall is and measure it at about 51 inches at level, and we'll start fixing the roof to the chassis. For the actual roof, we're going to have to probably weld stuff to the cage and bolt to that, so it's going to be fun. It'll be a humongous process, and it's really going to be annoying because I remember this being super annoying when I put it on my last car, and it ain't going to be much better. So we'll get to that, but I think I'm just going to go take care of myself tonight because I just realized I haven't riveted the dashboard down to the car, so I'm probably going to have to lift the roof up again, which really stinks because the fiberglass kind of cracked in half right there, which really sucks. So I'll probably sand that down when I get it in place and just, what is it, epoxy? Whatever that stuff is. Whatever the goop is you put on fiberglass. Resin, that's the stuff. I'll put that on there because I got 2 fiberglass kits, and I'll probably end up doing a little bit of fiberglass repair to this roof to make it right because I have some parts cut out. I got to go cover up my old chassis because I still care about it, even though it's in need of help if I'm ever going to use it again. So I'll meet up with you tomorrow. Next day, I'm already prepping to put this thing on the ground. Once we get this thing on some blocks and nice and level and not shaking all over the place, hopefully nothing's gonna drag or nothing really kind of bad. I don't think anything will be in the way, but then we can at least measure height and start trying to brace the top part, central part of the roof up and get that strong, put that into place. And then once we get that done and the roof height done, everything else can fall into place completely. It is just a mad thrash of fabrication from then on. We'll put the bracing in for the rear, get that all straightened up. Then we'll put the center bracing in for tin work and just keep throwing things at it. So this is how we're going to measure the roof height and get that squared away with it on all 4 blocks on the ground. Now what I did was I got my marker out and my tape measure and I measured from the center part of the lip of the roof back 8 inches. I did that on a couple corners, marked a few lines, ran a strip of tape, so that edge is 8 inches. Now what we're going to do here is, in order to see what the roof height is now at the desired mark, that's 54. All right, that's enough. We'll go like this. There's the ground. Now we'll take this rod that I put a magnetic level on. We'll stick that at the line. Right there, looks pretty good. Set it to level, which that says, oh boy, that ain't so great. What if I move it over here a little bit towards center? I'm trying to get the best possible measurement I can, but boy, it don't look good here because I might have to space this roof up a bunch. Oof, that hurts. 49.5. So we are exactly, let's see, half inch would be 50, another inch would be 51. So we are 1.5 inches too low on the roof. Oh, that stinks. All right, so now we've got to figure something out with building braces and putting stuff in so that, oh, there's ants crawling on here. That's great. Probably from when they were outside. To get the entire roof up in one piece and get that roof height up. All right, so we're going to get the roof up. We're going to do a little bit of measuring and build some bracing and see where it measures out again. Whoops. Apparently I went a little bit overboard. I measured a little bit and just kind of added it evenly across the front and back. And, well, we are actually 3/4 of an inch too high in the front. So I think what I'll just do is just take it out of the front. I'll leave the back, take it out of the front because I want the roof to be a little bit down in the front anyway. And I'll try it again. But this thing is really difficult and ungainly to move around, and it sucks to do yourself. And you can tell because it's basically cracking in the middle here because it's folding up in half. And I don't know why they didn't just make these 2-piece, because if it were up to me, I would just take this part, the half off, set the windshield where the front is, put some kind of roof height thing here, set the whole roof based off of 2/3 of it, and then just join the rest later. But oh well, we're 3/4 of an inch too high, which is good because it looks stupid this high, and it really needs to be a lot further down, and I think that'll totally make up for it. So we'll give that a try and see what happens then. This is the worst part, I swear to God. Doing this is just, I might as well just flagellate myself. And that's not a good thing, by the way. 8 inches back. Oh, let's just, yeah, there you go. Scratch the windshield a little bit more. Please be correct. That's all I'm asking. Or at least close enough. Wow, that is dead money. And when the car goes up in the air a little bit, because of ride height, it'll go just above that. All right. That's it. The roof is on. It almost even looks straight. That looks like an even gap. Pretty sure that's all even. So that's a terrible marker, but I think what I'm going to do now is drill the 4 holes and cement this thing in place, after I take a couple more measurements, of course, and then start adding bracing so that this thing will stay here for good. When it comes to the back here, basically what I'm going to do is I'll probably just space it up with wood and whatever jack or, strut rods or whatever I can. Run some tubing down it and then put spacer tubing there to brace it up. And then at least we'll have the main greenhouse braced into place. And hopefully I can throw another coat of paint on this thing because I scratched everything, including the windshield, to death. And I'm rather angry about that, but there's no time for that, so we have to get this thing done. Let's get back to it. So I'm welding and working. I'm like, ow, why does my toe hurt so much? I must have something in my shoe. And I went like this, and I'm like, nothing's coming out. Yeah, that'll do it. Ain't no blood. We're good. Foot discomfort aside, got some nice little stanchions here. We got the rear of the body buggered in here. We got the upper roof in. I have a panel out of my old car. Sorry for the wind noise, by the way. I was painting. I got the big fan on. I'm sure you could probably hear a little bit of blowing, but I took this panel out of my old car for the windshield. Yes, it's bent and kind of piecemealed back together. But you know what? I wanted to incorporate some of the things from my old car into this one to remind me of my old car and the good times we had. I don't want to get too nostalgic here, but that cowl piece will work perfect because it was made for, well, this windshield and the roof. And it's going to give a little bit of a up to it and a little bow, and I can attach it to the dashboard, and it's going to work just fine. The hood will fit to it as well. So it's really coming along. As it's starting to get laid out and time is kind of running out on tonight, well, I think I'll spend the rest of the evening just kind of riveting in some stuff and just getting it set on the car and set in there, and just putting the trunk lid back on, maybe tying in this bar here. But other than that, I don't really think I'm going to do a heck of a lot more tonight. So I'll look this over, make a game plan of action for tomorrow, and that's when I'll probably catch up with you. Next day, the agenda for today will be to get the windshield fastened down at the lower lip with that piece that I borrowed out of the old car. I ordered a 4-foot sheet metal brake off the internet for me to put little flanges on that, and like little stuff like the skirt that's going to go here above the door, and just kind of tiny stuff like that. It'll work perfect. And to be honest with you, it was like $170 with shipping, so it's not that bad. We're gonna throw some tires on these the axle and the front end, and try to measure out for a Nerf bar setup. I need to have some kind of a rub rail on the right side, and we got to figure it out. So enough talk, get to work. Cool seeing it with tires on it again. Stafford has a little bit different system for track width than any other track around here. You're allowed to put a lot more width in the spacing of the tires and stuff. It's a lot more overall than anywhere else, which is kind of where I'm in a dilemma. I tried to line this thing up as even as I could, because the left side door bars are very close to the width of where the door is going to be, because I asked him to build it much wider because I like a lot of safety and a lot of room. He says, no problem, I got you. So I lined the roof up over the frame rails, right? So the roof itself is pretty straight with the frame. In fact, I might have cheated it over to the left just a little bit because, well, fitment issues. And I just wanted to be able to get in and out of the car easier. I can't really move it a hell of a lot more than like a half inch here or there because it's going to look stupid. But we got an issue here. This tire is like way out over here. This tire is like a little bit out. Not much. But like I said, I tried to center the body over the chassis as centered as I possibly could. It's just that this side looks a whole lot wider for some reason, and I just don't know why. I think I found it. I'm looking at the roof molding, and the roof is at a much lower angle over here. So it's got a lot more kind of push that way. And then I look over here, and it's definitely a lot straighter. Okay, so it's definitely that the body is molded a little bit funny, or it got hot and stretched, or whatever the case is. So in the meantime, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to just run a quickie little string down the side of the car to show me where the outside of these tires are, so that I can put some kind of a rub rail system in here, like a Nerf bar, because I need it to be a little hair wider than the tires, like just a little bit. Because if I get into the wall, I don't want the wheel getting ripped out of my hands, and I don't want people caving it in, and I don't want all sorts of dumb stuff. So we'll figure that out. We'll come up with some kind of design for whatever we're going to be doing here for the tires and rub rails and Nerf bars and all sorts of junk. So this ought to be fun. done. I apologize for not filming. Sometimes I just need a moment to kind of evaluate what I'm doing, figure out what I want, and then just kind of execute. It's not the way I wanted to do it either, which is apparent, and it was really difficult to see because this whole area is so clogged full of stuff. Let's just keep this PG. And I'm a big person. I'm 6'2", a lot pounds. So I just built something that, well, I hope it works, and I hope it doesn't damage the chassis when I use it, because that's not a if, it's a when. So I used thinner wall tubing on the outside, and I used a smaller, thinner wall tubing for the stanchions, and then I bolted it in. I left a little gap. So, and then the thickest, biggest wall tubing is what's on the chassis. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if there's an impact, this will bend or crush or break the bolts before it hurts the actual chassis. Again, I really don't like doing it this way, but that's all I got. For the left side, well, to be honest, the door bars come out so far that what I'll do is I'll just slap a tire on here, run a string down this side, because that's what I did to the other side, and then basically just see what the gap is. And if the gap is really too big, okay, maybe I'll put something in. But if there's really not much of a gap, I might just leave it alone. Got a starburst in my teeth. It's my lunch. I've decided to put one in. It's literally 2 inches from the door to the string, which is the outside line of the tires. I'm just gonna jam a piece of 1 3/4 roll bar material in there, because here's the thing. Somebody gets their bumper in here, in this big pocket here, it could really screw up my car. I don't want that to happen. In my old car, I had a bar there, and guys would get into me, and the bar would be here, but it would hit this side of the bar, and it wouldn't allow anything in here a little further. It wouldn't allow anything to hook the rear tire, damage anything. It would keep people in line and at bay. Aside from a coat of paint, she's not looking too bad for the side rails. Like I said, I'm trying to protect the open areas, namely here, because the battery's there, the frame's there. You could hook the rear axle and pull it back and ruin it, and all sorts of bad stuff with front bumpers. I've seen it all before. But this will be enough to at least protect the side of the car, namely the body, and space it out a little bit. The old roof mounts used to be here. Where I had to mount it on this chassis is here. So what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm not really satisfied with look at how floppy it is. So I think I'm gonna put some kind of support in here and just use a little 1/2-inch tubing, and it'll be a couple ounces. It'll really help to keep the shape of the roof. I'm gonna have to repair this crack in the roof here. That won't be too bad. I got this fiberglass repair stuff. I got 2 kits of it. Hopefully that'll be okay. And I'll sand it down. I got a DA sander with some sandpaper, and I'll just repaint it. But I'm waiting on my bender to get this stuff done, obviously, but I'm still working all this other stuff in the meantime. So I'm probably gonna work on this next. And then I don't really know. Oh yeah, I gotta do the windshield too. I even performed some extracurriculars while I was building body mounts and such. The bolt-in, not made for this car, Driveshaft hoop that I got was a little short, and there was about an inch of overlap, so I just said, I'm just going to take the bolts out, spread it back out, stick it on top, weld it in while I'm in here. Thankfully, there's no tins, so that was easy to do. I got to grab that socket that I left. There's that. But the body, for the most part, is pretty good. I mean, this thing, a little flexible. I don't know why. That's okay. Things happen. I did put that extra bracing in, and I'm happy with it. I did manage to get it up in the air a little higher, so it looks a little better. It's a lot more sturdy. Now there's 6 points where it's held onto the roof instead of 4. And I got my old windshield mount put in. It's curved like a cowl a little bit more. Fits my hood, which I have to reuse because, well, I spent all my money on the chassis. What do you want from me? So, like I said, I wanted some pieces of the old car, and that one came out pretty well. I popped a little piece in over there, and I spray painted it again so it would look the same as the car. So this thing needs a big vacuuming. We got door Nerfs on both sides. We got the roof completely fastened down. Now we just got to get the tin work done and the body put on. And the bumpers, but that's coming too. So I'm going to have to wait until that brake shows up, and I'm just going to keep plugging away on the rest of the body otherwise because, well, I can. And I'm going to try to make that as similar to what I have now, just kind of flanged and riveted. But while I wait for that to come in, I can always work on front, back, and sides. Because, well, this is on, so I can put the tailpiece on. I was thinking about actually digging my old school one out instead of having the late model one. We'll see how that goes. I always liked those. Maybe I'll have to grab the pressure washer and do that. I'll throw a coat of paint on this thing. See you tomorrow. It's the next day, and I'm out of breath for moving a table. This is one of my old shop tables. Probably used to be over there, I think. Or back there, or over there. Somewhere. But I bought this. And it got here in 2 days, and you can tell it looks like they threw it here, but I'm gonna go, jeez, a little heavy, but I'm gonna try to put that on here because I don't have anywhere else to put it. And hopefully I can just take this old one off. This is my old handmade one, as you can tell. Welding on these is not exactly the best thing you can do. Oh, look, trees. But in a pinch, it works. It's only 90 degrees, which sucks as I get eaten by a mosquito. And like I said, welding it, you can see all the way at the end, the gap is not exactly straight. So for big stuff, I can do it, but for small stuff, I got that one. Hopefully I won't leave that one out in the garbage of the outdoors, and we can get this thing working again. That's not bad at all. Oh, whoops. I went too far past 90. It works. Very minimal setup. This is obviously separate. There's 2 bolts here. There's some adjusters here. You put the handle on and then screw it to a table. That's it. That's literally the setup. It's a 135 degree bending angle. Of course, I only really needed 90, but it's got a nice sharp edge. It'll work great. So I just checked my email and I thought, man, that thing seems to have gotten here really fast, didn't it? But yeah, apparently I bought it yesterday. Like I said, I mean, it looked like it got thrown here by FedEx, but I guess it made it. Luckily, there weren't any parts to be lost because they were all too big to lose, but it's here and it works. So I gotta get to work starting on the back shelf interior tin. Probably gonna have to be a few pieces. Probably at least 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces at least. What we're gonna do is we're gonna create a piece from here to the roll bar and try to get the angle towards that bar right there. So what we gotta do is we gotta roll this down here to the bar, pretty much go halfway around it. Gonna have to notch it a little bit. Same thing there to there. Probably notch it. Then we'll do the second panel, which will be from the back bar to here. And obviously we're gonna try notching it there, running it down flat. And then we're gonna do 2 crush panels. And everything's gonna be flanged. There's gonna be a flat flange here so that we can rivet to it there. And there's probably gonna be a flat flange down here so that we can maybe rivet it to the body or maybe just kind of leave it there as a crush panel, like I said. Who knows? The middle is gonna be flanged as well around the tube so that it's just like this. So that all the tin work will at least match, right? Sorry, I gotta vacuum it out and blow it out and stuff. I was doing a lot of drilling and it's all still in here, but you can see how it kind of flat flanges like that. And you can rivet it together like in a sandwich pattern. Well, that's what we're gonna try to do. And I really hope I have tin to do this. It looks like I do, standing up here in the corner. I just don't know if it's wide enough. That's the problem. As you can see, it is deep into the night. It is literally hours later, of course. Yeah, of course a moth comes flying by to prove my point. By the way, have I ever mentioned that I hate doing tin work? My old car, I did all the tins in that one. And the only reason I got it done so quickly was because I just laid everything over and tack welded everything into place. This, however, we're actually trying to make nice. And it's working, it's just taking me all night. So I really hope, whatever's left of my gloves crossed, that we can actually get the tins done, painted, repaint the chassis because it doesn't fit. So I have to slide it over all the fresh paint that I have done, which is exactly what I thought was gonna happen. So that's my fault anyway. But I have to try to get this thing done so that we can go racing, but I can't go racing unless the tin work's done. So anyway, you can kind of see my design coming to fruition here. I got the 2 main panels, which, by the way, the seam in the middle, yeah, it makes it so that you can move or remove easily. But here's the other thing. It's also a strengthening piece without adding metal. It's already there. You just have a little lip that's like 1/2 inch long that you just rivet everything to. Looks clean, and it's stronger because, well, it's bent metal, so it's technically a solid piece. I still have to tin around the seat belts where they go. That sucks. But you can see that if I put a right angle and then a little bend in the middle, we have crush panels that just go in either side. Bang, bang, done. So if any reason this gets folded in, which God almighty, I hope not, we can easily fix it. Easily. I'm going to keep working. I got to B-roll that one, and I have to affix both of these so that I have an nice anchor point. And then after that, we can work the sides, but that's probably not going to be until tomorrow or even the next video.
to get done tonight because I am way out of time. I mean, I still have to go to work tomorrow. I had to shut the door because the bugs were coming in. It's just a complete mess in here too. I've been thrashing all night and I've done those two. That sucks. This is what I get for having an art project though. We put together a beautiful race car with beautiful tin work. I have to follow suit. And those two pieces cost me an entire night. And I still have two more to go. And I think I accidentally caved in the one that I just made. So that'll be coming back out tomorrow if I work on it. And I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Back in the shop, I did manage to make it in here today. And I want to finish this right now because I do not feel like dealing with it anymore. And personally, I hate tin work. I hate it. I think I might actually end up taking this rear tin, the second one. Not the first one, the second one. I was thinking about maybe putting a bend in it and making it kind of, instead of making it more flat, kind of angling it down and then flat towards the back of the seat, because I want to make sure that it clears the seat belt mounts a little bit cleaner, because it's got a little bit of an edge and I'd really like it to be a little bit better than that. And it wouldn't really be too difficult to do that and at the same time make it so the crush panels will be more difficult to fit, because they'll fit either way. It's just basically you make a big rectangular piece that goes down the side here, and what you do is when you bend that 1/2-inch flange, you just cut it where you need it to bend, and you can bend it really easy. So it's not really a big deal. I can just measure that out. So those crush panels are actually what we're going to do after I get this panel bent and put in the way I want it to. And that's pretty much it, honestly. So we need to make those two panels. Once we make those two panels, I'll slap a coat of paint on it, and then it's time to hang the body. Here's the finished product, guys. Obviously, I'm gonna need to do a little bit of skirting right here, but that I also have to put like a crush panel here for the top of the door and such, but that's obviously gonna have to happen when we put the body on. But that's it. I hate doing tin work, in case you haven't noticed. It takes so long for me to do this with just rudimentary hand tools, and like you saw, I had a hand bead roller and a hand brake, and well, two. I made one myself. I had to cut in where the seat belts go and where the seat mounts are, and some of it didn't go as well cleanly as possible, and a couple little gaps here and there, but that's what they make aluminum tape for, which
Well, it's in there somewhere. Anyway, I'm just going to paint this at some point. I don't think I'm going to do it tonight because I just realized how late it actually was. It's like, oh, I don't even want to say. But it literally took me 2 days to do just that back deck. And I'll be honest with you, it's actually the best tin work I've ever done. It really looks almost professional. If I put a coat of paint on it, I guarantee you it'll look way nicer than this. And you'll see it in the next video because I definitely will throw a coat of paint on it so that it does look nice, fresh, and new when we go back to filming for the next one. But for this one, we're all done here. Next comes the body, the regular body. Car goes back in the air. I finished riveting some of this and the body starts going on. Body means body, bumpers, and the lower struts and supports. Nose, tail, hood, everything. That's gonna be going on. And luckily, that might be a little bit easier than what we've done here now because I'm reusing the old body off the old car. It probably won't fit exactly the same, but I am reusing it. So when we put the tail and the quarters on, everything forward just goes right on. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Again, thank you all so much for all you've done for me, for subscribing, for sharing what I do. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. I really do. And this, you know, I'm really sorry that I can't offer you guys what normal automotive YouTubers do. They offer you, hey, I got this car out of a tree row or junkyard or something, and here's the beginning of the video, me pulling it out, and here's the end of the video, the car driving down the road. Isn't that fun? Those are awesome. I love them. I love them all. But this is real life. This is a guy with a family and a day job trying to make his dreams happen in his own garage by himself. Things take a while. These jobs, you're seeing it in real time. Like, I'm not hiding videos. I'm not stacking videos. This is real time. This is like the week after, or the week before, I should say, when the video comes out. This is exactly what I'm working on. And it takes this long. This is, like I said, real time, real life. So, thanks for hanging in there with me. If you have anybody you think might enjoy this type of automotive-based content, I've got hot rod stuff coming. I've got street car stuff in the back catalog and possibly coming in the future. Again, send them my way. And I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. We're getting close to that 1,000 mark. I know that's small potatoes on YouTube, but that's when things start to actually take off and we can start doing something for the channel. So, again, for the 4th time, thank you all again for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time.